Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. And it's Noel Casler,
Hey, Noel.
comedian extraordinaire, Twitter rock star. Hi, Noel. Good morning.
Hey, Stephanie, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. You said on Twitter, I could wipe my ass with classified documents under a bathroom chandelier. I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? You just said hashtag MAGA morons. And I opened the show, Noel, talking about, they do these interviews with the maggots at the rallies. And not Jordan Klepper. It was two other comedians. I don't know if you saw it this weekend. It is so profoundly depressing. I mean, I know it's funny to laugh at these morons, but oh my God. I mean, they literally... What was I saying? One of them said, oh, well, I don't think he would do something like that on purpose. He admitted he did it on purpose. I mean, one woman was showed the picture of the boxes in the bathroom and said, oh, well, he wouldn't have it in a bathroom. That looks like Joe Biden's house. I mean, I don't know what percentage of the population they are, Noel, but they are lost to us.
I agree. No, it's beyond depressing and sad. And they are brainwashed rather, because they're getting it from all these directions. When the story broke and the pictures came out, you had the guys on Fox News saying, well, at least it's not Joe Biden's garage. It's like, what are you talking about? He had them stacked on a stage in Mar-a-Lago that was next to the bridge room where people play bridge. You could walk in and find top secret documents. I mean, it's beyond the pale. And that bathroom scene was just out of a nightmare.
Yes.
The dollar store waste bin that happened to be sitting there under a chandelier, under a box of Kleenex that doesn't even have a covering around them.
One of the things, you focus a lot on Trump's poo, which is one of the reasons I love you. And I think I was the only one to say, who needs that much reading material in the bathroom? I mean, and you also said, by the way, this is obviously satire. Trump hasn't wiped his own ass in 40 years. So...
That's very true. And whenever I point that out, I do sometimes get pushback from incontinent Twitter, and I'm not trying to give them a hard time. There's no problem with adult diapers. I may be in them someday. I'm not standing at CVS making fun of somebody in line with a medical condition. Right. I'm pointing out the fact that his incontinence is due to his decades of drug abuse and his fast food diet, and the fact that he doesn't take care of himself, but pretends he's Rambo, right? You just mentioned how his followers don't believe the truth because they think of, Trump on the flags that they wave around at their rallies with this ripped guy holding a, M16 or something. Instead, he's an incontinent old man who's addled.
Which brings me to my favorite tweet of yours. Trump always had a tendency to his pants hard under pressure or on days that end in a Y. So today should be fun for all the security guards. It's also why Melania hasn't shared a bed with him since the mid 2000s. So today should be a gas. Okay, that's funny because there's a lot of poo humor.
Yep.
However, you also said, I wonder whose job it is to carry the wet wipes now that his body man is being indicted as well. Could it be Don Jr.? But I guess it depends. I get it. That's another adult diaper joke. But the thing that people get about you is that you're a comedian, you're making jokes, but that is actually not a joke. He is incontinent from years of drug use, and he wears a diaper. I mean, it's just that the whole myth of him is just hilarious, isn't it?
100%. And that's why I kind of put this into a comedic act and started speaking out, because we saw all this stuff on The Celebrity Apprentice and we weren't allowed to speak out. And when he ran for office, Mark Burnett let it be known that he would go after anybody who sort of broke the confidentiality clause. And, my colleagues were like, I'm not going to say anything. I got to work again. And I was like, forget it. I can't live with myself if I don't. This is who this guy is. He would get frustrated because he couldn't read a word on a cue card and evacuate his bowels. Imagine being the boom operator and listening to that, holding a microphone above him. And they'd be like, cut. And they'd bring in Keith Schiller and he'd take him off set. Keith Schiller was his body man for decades and his enforcer and everything. We called Keith Wet Wipes. That was his nickname.
But you had a really important tweet thread. Let me because this is why people just adore your truth telling. You said it's amazing how Trump is still allowed to control the visuals and steer the narrative of his arrest. It looked like a MAGA rally in Miami. The coverage of his orange visage and backslapping suck-ups afterwards was disgusting. From a distance, it looks like the USA is a GD freak show. And you just said mainstream media absolutely addicted to the spectacle because it's so profitable, and nobody knows this better than Trump himself. It's why why he was doing guest spots on late night shows where they poked fun at his hair, while behind the scenes he was a well-known sexual predator. And you just said the thing you just said previously. P.S. I'm aware I was a part of this spectacle, and that's why I walked away from live TV in 2016 to break Mark Burnett's BS NDA designed to protect the truth, and also Jeff Zucker's cover-up of his incompetence, addiction, and utter depravity at NBC during Celebrity Apprentice era. First of all, can I ask legally what happened with the NDA? How were you able to get out of it?
I just broke it. Like, I don't want to get too into it, you know. Right. I could go into my theory is like, I believe they lost it, because when I first signed it, it was paper documents in a temporary production where we were shooting the finales. So my guess is that, you know, whatever production coordinator was supposed to label that stuff and ship it back to LA threw it in a dumpster, you know, besides the Museum of Natural History or something, you know, outside where we filmed the thing. That's my best guess. They've never gone after me. You know, I have a lawyer if they want to, you know, I stand by what I say and I have no fear about that kind of stuff, because some stuff has to be beyond, you know, Trump has existed from NDAs. He makes his wives sign NDAs. Right. You know, Trump is an illusion, like you just said. He'd go on David Letterman and Jimmy Fallon and they'd play with his hair. He knows he looks like a clown. That's part of the act, because behind the scenes, he's laundering money for the Russian mob. He's doing all kinds of, you know, janky stuff. He's assaulting women. But in person, he's this big clown that everybody likes to make fun of, or that kind of New York guys like to be like, hey, it's Mr. Trump, you know, like Michael Cohen and all these, you know, there was always suck-ups around Donald Trump. There's a certain personality that's attracted to that kind of BS, gaudy, toxically masculine, gold-plated toilet personality.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. There it is, my first drink of the day, ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And ZBiotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine. I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/political voices or scan the QR code on the screen right now. By the way, John Kelly is stealing your act. He said Trump is getting his pants over these Mar-a-Lago documents. You're like, well, that's a day that ends in Y, but
right.
But well, that's the thing, though. People say, why doesn't Trump go after you? Because he's a coward.
Yeah.
He talks about suing people. He doesn't really sue people. And he tends to not sue people who know his deal. And I first started working around that dude in the 90s on beauty pageants. You know, I could call up people right now that know things about him that he knows about that he doesn't want coming out. You know, Trump has a long string of victims that you've never heard of. That he was able to bully and, you know, pay off and sort of intimidate. And I'm done with that.
Yeah.
You know, it was thing when he was doing that in a business where sadly there was a lot of that, right? Everybody know who Harvey Weinstein was. Everybody knew what Matt Lauer was up to, and people figured I can't do anything about it and I got a good gig, I'm not going to rock the boat. But when that kind of person becomes president of the United States and we see what we've seen, the destruction that has occurred.
But here's where we get to his cult. As you know, there's nothing else you can call it at this point. You said, imagine the level of ignorance you have to possess on a cellular level to stand outside a courthouse like some piece of rotting donkey dung and hold a Trump or death flag to support a lifelong criminal who would run over your entire family if you got in his way. Sad AF. I mean, and some are still sending him money. He apparently raised $2 million off this latest indictment. I mean, the grift is truly endless.
Yeah. And that's what he's into. That's why I was saying that comment about how the media treated it, right? Because that's money in the bank to show him waving, to show him at a Cuban restaurant, which he skipped out on without paying the bill, right? Which he does. Look, on The Apprentice, if you remember, I did the Celebrity Apprentice, right? I didn't do when it was like non-famous people.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be famous for me to show up. Because that's what you know, like
At least you admit you're a star. That's important here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. If Cyndi Lauper's there, I'm there. If it's Joe Schmo, I'm not
You don't
working.
care.
But
Yeah.
anyway, you know, what would happen was these guys would pick a charity, right? The Diabetes Foundation or whatever. And whoever won that contest that week would get, like, you know, $500,000 for their charity. Trump would on air often say, I'm going to match your donation. You know, I'm going to match your donation from Trump.org. And he never would.
Never did.
He would make false claims on TV and not back it up.
Oh, God. Let's talk about Vanky, as you call her, because everybody talking about her Father's Day tweet to only Jared, not her dad. She said, "Happy Father's Day, Jared. Today and every day, the kids and I celebrate the incredible father and loving partner you are. Thank you for the countless ways you fill our lives with joy, guidance, and boundless love, and also Saudi cash." Oh, I'm sorry. I added that last part. That probably wasn't. Yeah.
That last part sounded.
It was
that
silent.
was a given. That was a given.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
They got away with it. Do you know what I mean? They were the architects of whatever grift Trump was running. Jared was running point on that. And when I worked around them, Ivanka was calling the shots. She knows how to manipulate her dad, that soft, breathy voice with the sibilant S's. That's made up for her dad because he likes it. That's not how she talks in real life. Her voice is about an octave lower and she curses like a sailor.
She's like a trucker from Brooklyn.
She's like the opposite of Elizabeth Holmes.
Exactly.
God.
There's an old clip of her on Conan O'Brien where she puts her, not the sotto voce BS. She puts her normal voice on there and it's jarring. But that's what she's like behind the scenes. And then she'd walk up to her dad and be like, "Father," you know?
Oh, Lordy, I hope there's tapes of that. Just, "Gabba-da-ga-da, Daddy." Just like sounds like Pebbles, right? And then she's like, the door slams. "Good. That orange mother is gone. Let's get some work done." So she obviously changed her name to Ivanka Kushner. She dropped the Trump. So yesterday she didn't tweet at her father. I love this one. A few days ago, she wished her father the happiness you deserve on his birthday, leading to questions about, what does that mean? Right. I mean, because in the past she'd celebrated both of them on Father's Day, but I mean, it's pretty clear she's distancing herself pre-prison.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, they're building a new big mansion out down on a little private island outside of Miami, an exclusive little thing. They got the $2 billion in Saudi cash in Jared's hedge fund. He has no institutional investment experience and he's running a hedge fund.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of thing you just pick up and do.
Right.
You know, it's not becoming a DJ or something, like you're taking billions of dollars. So they got the largest of Trump's sort of inactions. The best metaphor I can make is Trump was a guy who walks into a store, flops down on the ground and pretends to have a seizure while they run around the counter and empty the cash register.
Yeah.
That's the best metaphor I could make for what they were doing in the White House.
Are they ever going to, but are we ever going to get to the bottom of this $2 billion in Saudi? I mean, obviously, I think Jack Smith, among others, is looking at it. Michael Cohen went so far as to suggest they could have turned into, Jared and Ivanka could have turned into moles for the FBI to save themselves. I mean, do you have any thoughts or suspicions about what's happening with investigation of Saudi money, whether they've turned on Trump already, or what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think they're both definitely capable of turning on Trump. The family's like a den of vipers. They will all hate each other. Ivanka hates Don Jr. like with a passion. Don Jr. hates her because her dad likes her and hates him. So they would all turn on each other. They would definitely flip on the FBI. I don't have any kind of knowledge that they have done so already. My guess would be they haven't because hasn't gotten to that point because none of them have come up in these investigations. Sheldon Whitehouse and some congressional people have tried to look at the money. That's different than a congressional, investigation. I don't know what Jack Smith is doing. I do know that Carol Leonnig had a great article in the Washington Post today that Merrick Garland spent a year before even trying to investigate Trump for January 6th, which is obviously infuriating and doesn't to picking up the pieces of the larger crime that occurred while they were in office. So it's a sad state of affairs.
Well, yeah, no, I said that in hour one when that story broke, that we just, enough with this Trump's being treated unfairly. Right. It's like, there was a story about the FBI agents didn't want to even raid Mar-a-Lago. They were reticent and, he's been given... and he had how many chances to give back? Just give the documents back. I mean, that's like a bank robber. Really, how many bank robbers get the opportunity to just give the money back and then no harm, no foul, you can go? I mean, and like you say, this January 6th thing, they've obviously been reticent to go all the way to the suits, right? And so he's gotten way more than the benefit of the doubt, hasn't he?
100%. My mom robbed a bunch of banks in 1984 when I was a kid. Not a joke. She really did. She robbed like 8 banks.
Wow.
And when the FBI found out who she was, there was a guy kicking in my door on Saturday morning with a shotgun in my face, freeze FBI.
Wow.
And they had my mom out of that apartment within 3 minutes.
Wow.
And I didn't see her again. She was in federal prison for, a 7-year sentence. She served like 5 at Camp Cupcake, they called it, Alderson.
Wow.
Where Martha Stewart went later. She was wrapped up in drugs, and it was she stole some money. She wasn't like robbing a bank with a gun. She passed it to a teller in a complete, drug-induced kind of psychosis, and it was the best thing that ever happened for her. She got sober, and it saved her life. But my point being, single mom in suburban Maryland, the FBI wasn't waiting and given it a year before they investigated. They went and arrested her because she was a criminal and had committed a crime. And that's what they're supposed to do when a federal crime is committed.
Yeah. Wow. That is a peek into Noel Casler's life. I did not know.
Crazy.
That was, wow, amazing.
Yeah, I don't tell people that often. It's no secret, but I'm giving it to you, Stephanie, as an example, because as American citizen, we should all be held to the same standards, right? That obviously upended my childhood. They didn't, they just took her and left me alone in the apartment. I ended up going to live with my grandparents and stuff, but I had to pay the price for crime because that's what happens, right? And my mom had to pay the price. So why shouldn't Donald Trump have to pay the price? Who's committed crimes on a scale much larger than the financial and petty crimes and stuff that happens.
Can I still take a moment to say you grew up a good boy? Look at you. Handsome, smart, successful. There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.